Thank you, team, for the presentation. I'm really happy to be at Strategy Fest 2022. After 10 years at McKinsey, I'm here to tell you why PowerPoints won't get you where you want to go if you want to get your strategy done. Now, a little bit about me. I spent the first decade of my career at McKinsey, where I was mostly the guy that they call when they needed anything more than just PowerPoint: analytical models, prototypes, customer experiences. And today, I lead tech strategy and transformation at Mastercard. Now, the most common failure mode of strategy is really you write it up and then it ends up on a shelf. And the exact opposite of that is a very well understood, tracked and executed strategy that is supported across the organization. And so to put it in a catchphrase for today, the attempt is to get the strategy out of the boardroom and inspire teams to deliver the strategy they helped create. Now, how do we do that? I think there's really three things to focus on initially. One is make sure you get the context right. Two, make sure you get the engagement across the organization right. And three, know that once you've written up your strategy, you're really only 10% of the way. You gotta get the execution right. So let me dig in on each of these a little bit. Context is really important because you wanna make sure you aim the teams that you're talking to and getting inputs from to provide you input on the things that matter most. They all have energy and they all want to share, but you want to make sure you give them the right frame to share their thoughts on. So make sure you ask the right questions, make sure you set the frame right for what the problems are you're trying to solve, and make sure you get that right all the way up front. Second is the engagement. And you really want to make sure you engage broadly across the organization. Lots of people have lots of ideas, and because you want your strategy done across all of the organization you're working in, you want to make sure you talk to all of those people. And keep in mind that as soon as you get out of the inner circle of strategy, the feedback will get better and more real. And you want to value that and make sure you capture all of that. The third is execution. As I said, you've written down the first version of your strategy, and now it's down to execution. How do you go about that? And so what we recently did for the technology strategy at Mastercard is really rolled it out in different steps and stages across the organization. Step number one, make sure you get to those 50 or 60 people that matter most and ask them to help you co-create the first version. And that's important to get the frame right? Second, what we did is we went and got about 200 people from across Mastercard, any part of the organization, any layer, anywhere in the world, and asked them for feedback. And so they shared their feedback, and we made sure that we incorporated that in. The third thing we did is we talked to 500 leaders over the course of a week in a hybrid meeting where the CEO started the week with his speech on what he thinks the strategy means for him and what it means for the organization. And all the way down to the last day at the end of Friday afternoon, how do you translate that for teams and how they need to do their work? And so that is really how you create the magic. At every turn of the strategy, we made sure we refined and made sure that we understood why the feedback was provided and how we could make the strategy better. Because where you want to land is you want to make sure that everybody in the organization understands the strategy and is able to do something different tomorrow because they know about the strategy today. That is where you want to land to get the strategy executed across the organization and understood. Now, I'll talk a little bit also about where we landed in terms of strategy without divulging too much, but it is important that I think I spend a little bit about our Mastercard technology strategy. There's 6 pillars in there, and we really think about those as direction with intent. And everybody around the organization knows them now after all of that engagement with roughly those 1,000 people, and there's more to come. And those 6 pillars are the following. 1, we want to make life easier for our customers, any way they engage with us. 2, we want to make sure Mastercard can succeed anywhere around the world, anywhere we need to deploy. 3, we want to make sure we adapt ourselves and are ready for any of the new technologies coming our way. Quantum and security, IoT, metaverse, Web3, crypto, all of those new technologies we need to make sure we have an answer for as for Mastercard as we evolve. 4, privacy and data. Privacy is a core part of how we operate at Mastercard, and we want to make sure it's baked in everywhere. 5 is really around the operating model. We need to get better at reacting quickly and working with our partners more actively. 6, finally, want to make sure we proactively win the war on talent and get hybrid right. Talent, at the end of the day, is an important part of how you execute any strategy. You want to make sure you get that right. So those are the 6 pillars of our strategy. Now, before I leave you, I do want to talk about 3 or 4 practical things that I want you to take away. 1, make sure you engage broadly and deeply across the organization, because you want the strategy to be understood and executed at all levels. And so think about whether you've engaged with that first line of people managers that need to explain to their people what they need to do differently. Do they know what they need to do differently, and can they tell their people? That is a really important part of making sure your strategy will stick across the organization. So make sure to think about that engagement. 2nd, stop using PowerPoint as a tool to roll out your strategy. PowerPoint may be great to get some initial thoughts together, but the flaw with PowerPoint is that PowerPoint is much too easy to fake things. It's not real because you've changed it on a PowerPoint. And so what I would say instead is tie your strategy to the tooling that you have. Roadmap tooling, CRM and CRM tools like Salesforce, making sure you have your ticket system lined up, making sure your operational metrics line up with what you're trying to do, and measuring that way will be much more productive than trying to just translate your strategy into PowerPoint. And then finally, pick good names for your strategies and initiatives. I've seen many names over the years, both at McKinsey as well as now at Mastercard for the last 18 months. And a good name is really an important part of a good strategy. Because if you try and explain names with too much of what the intent of the strategy is, the challenge is people will assume too much. So the trick is pick a good name, make sure it's cool, and try and get people to ask you, oh, that's a cool name. What's that strategy about? Because that gives you an opening to explain the strategy and make sure they understand it exactly in the way you want it. That's it for me. I'm looking forward to the Q&A. Thank you so much, and talk soon.